The alarm pierced through the morning silence of Settlement Alpha 7, its mechanical wail echoing off the reinforced walls that had kept Marcus Chen alive for the past 3 years. He rolled off his narrow cot, bare feet hitting the cold metal floor of his shelter. Another day of existence in humanity's last outpost. Marcus pulled on his worn jumpsuit and stepped outside into the filtered sunlight. The biodome stretched above him, a transparent barrier between his small world and the hostile planet beyond. Through the reinforced material, he could see the purple sky of Zirion 4, painted with swirls of crimson clouds that would kill any human foolish enough to breathe them directly. He was 28 years old and, as far as anyone knew, the last human male in the galaxy. The thought still felt surreal, even after all this time. 3 years ago, the hegemony had swept through human space like wildfire, their bioweapons specifically designed to target male genetics. Within 6 months, every human colony had fallen silent. Every ship had gone dark. Every last man had died screaming as the virus ate through their DNA. Every man except Marcus. Dr. Sarah Kim, the settlement's chief scientist and one of only 47 human women left alive, had theories about his immunity. Genetic anomaly. Random mutation. Divine intervention. She'd tested his blood so many times that Marcus joked he was more needle than man these days. But the why didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that he was here, and the weight of an entire species rested on his shoulders. The agricultural domes hummed with activity as Marcus made his rounds. Automated systems tended to the modified earth crops that somehow thrived in Zirion's alien soil. Tomatoes hung heavy on synthetic vines. Wheat swayed in the artificial breeze generated by atmospheric processors. It was beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time, a tiny piece of home preserved under glass while everything else had burned. Morning, Marcus. Dr. Elena Vasquez looked up from her tablet as he entered the main laboratory. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her usually immaculate lab coat was wrinkled from another sleepless night. We got the long-range sensors working again. You're not going to like what they found. Marcus felt his stomach drop. How bad? Elena gestured to the main display screen, where dozens of red dots pulsed against a star map. Hegemony fleets. They're moving through this sector, systematically glassing every planet that might harbor human life. At their current speed, they'll reach us in 18 months. 18 months. Marcus stared at the screen, watching death approach one red dot at a time. The hegemony had perfected genocide to an art form over the past millennium. Wherever they went, native species simply ceased to exist. Their method was elegant in its brutality: bioweapons to eliminate the population, followed by orbital bombardment to sterilize the surface, and, finally, terraforming to suit their own needs. There's something else, Elena said, her voice dropping to a whisper. The sensor array detected something in the outer system. A ship, but not hegemony. The signature is completely unknown. Marcus frowned. Pirates? Raiders? No. This is something else entirely. The ship is massive, easily 10 times larger than anything humanity ever built. And, Marcus, it's heading straight for us. The next 6 hours passed in a blur of emergency meetings and desperate planning. The settlement's 47 women gathered in the main assembly hall, their faces ranging from terrified to resigned. They all knew what an unknown ship meant. Either new enemies or false hope, and, in their experience, the universe had stopped dealing in hope years ago. Marcus stood at the front of the room, feeling the weight of their stares. He'd never asked to be humanity's last hope. Never wanted the responsibility of carrying an entire species' future in his genetic code. But want had nothing to do with survival. We have 3 options, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the hall. We can try to hide and hope they pass us by. We can run, though there's nowhere left to go. Or we can prepare for first contact and pray they're not another enemy. Dr. Kim stood up from the front row. The ship will be here in 6 hours. If they wanted us dead, they could have launched missiles from orbit already. I think we should assume peaceful intent until proven otherwise. Famous last words, muttered Jenny Walsh from the back. The former Marine sergeant had lost her entire unit to hegemony bioweapons and trusted nothing that came from space. Marcus raised his hand for silence. We vote. All in favor of peaceful first contact protocols? 23 hands rose slowly into the air. All in favor of defensive preparations? 24 hands shot up immediately. Marcus nodded grimly. We prepare for both. Kim, I want our best translation protocols ready. Walsh, break out the weapons and get our automated defenses online. If they come in peace, we'll be ready to talk. If they come in war, we'll give them hell. The next hours blurred together in frantic preparation. The settlement's small arsenal was cleaned and distributed. Emergency protocols were reviewed. The main communications array was tuned to broadcast on every frequency imaginable, loaded with mathematical sequences and basic pictographs that any spacefaring species should recognize as attempts at peaceful contact. Marcus found himself standing on the observation deck as the unknown ship approached. Through the reinforced transparent aluminum, he watched a silver speck grow steadily larger against the purple sky. The ship was indeed massive, a sleek, organic-looking vessel that seemed to flow rather than cut through space. It moved with an alien grace that made his skin crawl. Getting active scans now, Elena's voice crackled through his communicator. Marcus, this is impossible. The ship's hull is composed of materials we don't have names for. Energy readings are off the charts, but there's no sign of conventional weapons. The ship settled into a stationary orbit directly above their biodome. For 20 minutes, nothing happened. Then, the communications array lit up with incoming signals. They're broadcasting, Dr. Kim announced over the settlement-wide intercom. Mathematical sequences first, then, wait. Marcus, they're speaking English. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. That's impossible. No alien species could have learned greetings, humans of Settlement Alpha 7. The voice that came through their speakers was unmistakably feminine, though deeper than any human woman's voice Marcus had ever heard. I am Zarathes of the Veltar Confederation. I come seeking audience with the human male designated Marcus Chen. The hall fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Marcus's mouth went dry. They knew his name. They knew exactly who they were looking for. How do they know you? Elena whispered, her face pale with shock. Marcus shook his head slowly. I have no idea. The alien voice continued, patient and strangely melodious. I understand your confusion and fear. Your species has endured great trauma at the hands of the hegemony. But, know this, I am not your enemy. My people have watched the systematic destruction of human civilization with growing alarm. The galaxy has lost enough beauty to hegemony genocide. Dr. Kim stepped forward to the communications console. This is Dr. Sarah Kim, Chief Scientist of Settlement Alpha 7. How do you know of our settlement? How do you know Marcus's name? A pause, then, something that might have been gentle laughter. Your people have hidden well, Dr. Kim, but the Veltar have been observers of galactic civilization for longer than your species has existed. We know of Marcus Chen because he represents something the galaxy has not seen in generations, hope for a species thought extinct. What do you want? Marcus found his voice at last. To make you an offer, Marcus Chen. My people face our own crisis. Our choosing season has begun, and I am among those who must select a mate. But our males are dying, a genetic plague that weakens each generation. We face extinction as surely as you do. Marcus felt the room spinning around him. You want me to what? I propose an alliance. My people possess the technology to strike back against the hegemony. We can teach you to fight them, to reclaim your worlds, to rebuild your civilization. In return, I ask only that you consider mating with me to preserve both our species. The hall erupted in shocked whispers and gasps. Marcus staggered backward, his mind reeling. An alien marriage proposal. From a species he'd never heard of, offering to help humanity fight back against impossible odds. You're asking me to breed with an alien, he said bluntly. I am asking you to help save two civilizations, Zarathes replied, her voice carrying no offense. I understand this is shocking. I ask only that you allow me to land, to speak with you face to face. Surely 47 humans and 1 alien can reach some understanding. Dr. Kim looked at Marcus, her expression unreadable. It's your choice, she said quietly. We'll support whatever you decide. Marcus closed his eyes, thinking of the red dots on the star map. 18 months until the hegemony arrived. 47 women depending on him to somehow restart the human race. And now this an alien offering power in exchange for genetic cooperation. You can land, he said finally. But you land alone, and our weapons stay active until we're satisfied you're not a threat. Understood. I will arrive in 1 hour. And, Marcus Chen? Yes? I am 8 feet tall and, likely unlike anything you have ever seen. I ask that you not judge me by your species' standards of beauty or familiarity. Judge me instead by my actions and my willingness to risk everything to save both our peoples. The transmission cut off, leaving Settlement Alpha 7 in stunned silence. Marcus looked around the hall at 47 faces, scientists, engineers, farmers, soldiers, all the remnants of human civilization looking to him for guidance. He had 1 hour to prepare for the most important meeting in human history. 1 hour to decide if humanity's future lay in the stars with an alien bride, or in the ashes of their burned worlds. Marcus walked to the window and stared up at the silver ship hanging in Zirian's alien sky. Somewhere up there, an 8-foot-tall alien female was preparing to propose marriage to save 2 dying species. He laughed bitterly. 3 years ago, his biggest concern had been passing his xenobiology finals. Now he was humanity's last hope and an alien's potential husband. The universe, he decided, had a twisted sense of humor. In the distance, thunder rumbled across the purple sky as storm clouds gathered on the horizon. But, for the first time in 3 years, Marcus wondered if the approaching darkness might actually bring dawn instead of destruction. He had 1 hour to find out. The landing shuttle descended through Zirian's toxic atmosphere like a silver teardrop, its hull gleaming against the purple storm clouds. Marcus watched from the observation deck as it touched down in the designated landing zone, 50 meters from the biodome's main airlock. No weapons fire. No explosions. Just the gentle hiss of repulsors and the whisper of alien engines powering down. Atmospheric readings show no toxic emissions, Elena reported through his earpiece. Whatever their propulsion system is, it's cleaner than anything we ever built. Marcus adjusted the translation device clipped to his collar and checked his sidearm one final time. Around him, the settlement's 47 women watched through reinforced windows as history prepared to unfold. Some held weapons. Others clutched data tablets. All of them looked terrified. The shuttle's airlock opened with a sound like singing crystal, and Zarathes of the Veltar Confederation stepped onto Zirian 4's surface. Marcus's breath caught in his throat. She was indeed 8 feet tall, but that simple description had failed to capture the reality of her presence. Her skin was a deep azure blue that seemed to shift and shimmer in Zirian's alien light, marked with intricate silver patterns that looked like living circuitry. Her features were humanoid but refined beyond anything human genetics could achieve: high cheekbones, large eyes that sparkled like captured starlight, and a bearing that suggested both incredible strength and surprising grace. She wore form-fitting armor that looked grown rather than manufactured, its organic curves following the lines of a body that was unmistakably feminine despite her alien nature. When she moved, it was with the fluid confidence of a predator that had never known fear. "Holy shit," Jenny Walsh whispered over the calm, "she's beautiful." Marcus had to agree. Terrifying, alien, and completely outside his experience, but undeniably beautiful in a way that made his human instincts war with each other. Part of him wanted to run. Another part wanted to stare until his eyes hurt. Zarathes approached the biodome's main airlock and stopped exactly 3 meters away, close enough to show peaceful intent, far enough to avoid triggering defensive protocols. When she spoke, her voice carried clearly through the external speakers. "Marcus Chen of humanity, I greet you as Zarathes of the Veltar. I come unarmed and alone, seeking alliance between our peoples." She performed what might have been a bow, her silver hair cascading around her shoulders like liquid metal. "May I enter your domain and speak with you face to face?" Dr. Kim stepped up to the communications panel. "Our atmospheric scanners show you're breathing our toxic external atmosphere without protection. How is that possible?" Zarathas touched her throat, where Marcus could now see what looked like gill slits opening and closing rhythmically. My people adapted to hostile environments long ago. Your atmosphere is unpleasant but not harmful. Though I would prefer to speak in more comfortable surroundings. Marcus made his decision. Cycle the airlock. Let her in. Marcus, Elena grabbed his arm. We don't know anything about her biology. She could be carrying pathogens, parasites, anything. She could also be our only hope of surviving the next 18 months. Marcus gently pulled free of Elena's grip. We scan her thoroughly, but we hear her out. The external airlock cycled through its decontamination sequence while every sensor in Settlement Alpha 7 focused on their unexpected guest. When the inner door opened, Zarathas stepped into humanity's last refuge with careful, measured movements that suggested acute awareness of how threatening her size could appear. Up close, she was even more impressive. 8 feet of alien perfection wrapped in living armor, with eyes that held depths Marcus couldn't begin to fathom. When she looked at him, he felt like a specimen under a microscope, not unpleasantly, but with the distinct sense that she was seeing things about him he didn't know existed. You are smaller than I expected, she said, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate in his bones. But the genetic markers are unmistakable. You are indeed the anomaly that survived the hegemony's plague. You know about the bioweapon? Dr. Kim stepped forward, her scientist's curiosity overriding her caution. Zarathas nodded gravely. The hegemony has used similar weapons against 17 species in the past millennium. Always the same pattern: target the males first to cripple reproduction, then systematically eliminate the rest. It is efficient. It is thorough. And, until now, it has been unstoppable. Until now? Marcus felt a flutter of hope in his chest. My people have been developing countermeasures for 3 centuries. We began when the hegemony destroyed the Caliph republics. We accelerated our efforts when they glassed the throne worlds of Andrasa Prime. And, we perfected our techniques when they silenced the song fleets of harmonious Velcara. Her eyes flashed with something that might have been rage. The galaxy grows smaller and quieter with each species they murder. Jenny Walsh stepped out of the crowd, her weapon lowered but ready. If your people can fight them, why haven't you? Why wait until humanity was almost extinct? Zarathas turned her attention to the former Marine, and Marcus saw Jenny stiffen under the alien's gaze. Because we are few, Sergeant Walsh. Powerful, but few. The Veltar Confederation numbers perhaps 1 million individuals across all our worlds. The hegemony commands fleets that darken star systems. We needed allies. Specifically, we needed allies with particular genetic gifts. What kind of gifts? Elena asked, her tablet recording every word. Humans possess remarkable genetic flexibility. Your species adapts to new environments faster than any other we have observed. More importantly, human males carry genetic sequences that could strengthen our own bloodlines in ways we never anticipated. Zarathas's gaze returned to Marcus, and he felt heat rise in his cheeks. My scientists have studied the biological samples we obtained from abandoned human settlements. Your genetic structure is not merely compatible with ours, it is complementary. Marcus blinked. You've been studying human biology? For the past year, since we first detected the hegemony's bioweapon attacking your colonies. We knew that if even one human survived the plague, they would possess unprecedented genetic resistance. Such resistance, bred into Veltar bloodlines, could ensure our species' survival for millennia to come. Dr. Kim was frantically taking notes. Are you saying human Veltar hybrids would be viable? More than viable. Superior. Combining human adaptability with Veltar longevity and psychic potential. Zarathas smiled, revealing teeth that were too white and too sharp. Your people could live for centuries. My people could adapt to environments that currently kill us. Together, we could build something the galaxy has never seen: a truly unified species capable of standing against any threat. The hall fell silent as the implications sank in. Marcus felt 47 pairs of human eyes boring into him, waiting for his response to an offer that could reshape both their futures. You're talking about the end of humanity as we know it, he said quietly. I am talking about the survival of humanity in a form that ensures it will never again face extinction. Zarathus stepped closer, and Marcus caught a scent like ozone and exotic flowers. Your choice is not between human purity and alien contamination. Your choice is between evolution and death. What exactly are you proposing? Marcus forced himself to meet her starlight eyes. I propose a formal mating bond between us. Not merely reproduction, but true partnership. You would come with me to the Veltar worlds, learn our technologies, master our weapons. In return, you would help strengthen our genetic lines and provide tactical knowledge of human psychology that could aid in liberating your conquered worlds. Marcus felt the weight of humanity's future pressing down on his shoulders. And the women here? Would be welcome on our worlds as well. Veltar science could extend their lifespans, enhance their physical capabilities, grant them psychic abilities your species has never possessed. They would become the mothers of a new kind of human, one capable of traveling between stars as easily as you now walk between rooms. This is insane, Elena whispered. You're talking about changing us into something completely different. I am talking about changing you into something that can survive. Zarathus's voice carried no anger, only infinite patience. The hegemony is coming. In 18 months, they will burn this world and everything on it. You can die as humans, or live as something greater. Marcus walked to the window and stared out at Zirion's purple sky. In the distance, he could see the automated mining facilities that kept their small settlement running. Everything humanity had built, everything they were, reduced to one tiny dome on an alien world. 47 women and 1 man, hiding from genocide while extinction counted down the months. What about our culture? Dr. Kim asked. Our history? Our literature and art and music? Would be preserved and cherished, Zarathus replied immediately. The Veltar are collectors of beauty and wisdom. Human achievements would be studied and celebrated across all our worlds. Your Shakespeare and Einstein would be known throughout the galaxy. And if we refuse? Jenny Walsh's voice was hard as steel. Zarathus met her gaze without flinching. Then, I will leave you to face the hegemony alone. I will return to my people and report that humanity chose extinction over evolution. And, when the genocide fleets arrive, I will honor your sacrifice by ensuring that somewhere in the galaxy, there is a record that humans once existed and chose death with dignity over life with change. Marcus turned back to face the assembled women. 47 faces looking to him for salvation. Scientists who had spent their lives pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. Engineers who had built miracles with scrap and determination. Farmers who had coaxed life from alien soil. Soldiers who had fought hopeless battles against overwhelming odds. All of them depending on his choice. How do I know you're telling the truth about any of this? He asked. Zarathus reached into her armor and withdrew a small crystalline device. When she activated it, the air above her hand filled with holographic displays, star charts, genetic sequences, technological schematics that made human science look primitive by comparison. This is the Veltar fleet, she said, highlighting dozens of ships scattered across local space. Waiting for my signal to either begin joint operations against the hegemony or to withdraw and leave this sector to its fate. The tactical display showed ship designs that defied everything Marcus knew about physics. Energy weapons that could crack planets. Defensive systems that bent space itself. Technology that could make humanity a player on the galactic stage instead of its latest victim. And this, Zarathus continued, shifting the display to genetic charts, is what human Veltar offspring would look like. Stronger, smarter, longer-lived, and resistant to every bioweapon the hegemony has ever deployed. The genetic models showed beings that were clearly humanoid but enhanced in every way imaginable. Faster reflexes. Better immune systems. Psychic abilities that bordered on telepathy. They looked like humanity's dreams of what it could become. The choice is yours, Marcus Chen, Zarathus said, deactivating the display. But, know that it must be made soon. My choosing season does not last forever, and the hegemony advances with every day we delay. Marcus looked around the room one more time. At Elena, whose brilliant mind had kept them alive for 3 years. At Jenny, whose tactical skills had saved them from raiders and, worse. At Dr. Kim, whose steady leadership had held their small community together when everything else fell apart. 47 extraordinary women who deserved better than slow death on a dying world. "I need to think," he said finally. "How long can you stay?" 3 days, Zarathus replied. "Long enough for you to consider all implications. Long enough for your scientists to examine my genetic samples and verify my claims. Long enough for you to decide whether humanity's future lies in the past or in the stars." She moved toward the airlock, then paused and looked back. "One more thing, Marcus Chen. My people mate for life. If you accept my proposal, you will be bonding not just with me, but with my clan and my world and my entire civilization. I do not ask this lightly, and I will not accept it lightly." "What do you ask of me specifically?" Zarathus smiled, and, for a moment her alien features seemed almost human. "I ask that you trust me with your life, your genetics, and your species' future. I ask that you help me bear children who will carry the best of both our peoples. And I ask that you stand beside me as we take back every world the hegemony has stolen." With that, she stepped through the airlock and was gone, leaving behind only the lingering scent of ozone and flowers and the weight of an impossible choice. Marcus sank into a chair as the airlock sealed behind her. Around him, 47 women began talking at once, arguing, questioning, planning, hoping. But all he could think about was the image of hybrid children with starlight eyes and human hearts, growing up in a galaxy where humanity was no longer prey but predator. 3 days to decide the fate of 2 species. 3 days to choose between death and transformation. 3 days to determine whether the last man in the galaxy would remain human or become something entirely new. Outside, storm clouds continued to gather across Zirion's purple sky, but, for the first time since the plague ships had come, Marcus wondered if the thunder might herald salvation instead of destruction. The vote was scheduled for dawn on the 3rd day. Marcus had barely slept, his mind churning with possibilities that ranged from salvation to damnation. He sat in his small quarters, staring at the genetic compatibility reports Dr. Kim had compiled from Zarathus's biological samples. The data was astounding. Human and Veltar DNA wasn't just compatible, it was synergistic. Hybrid offspring would possess immune systems capable of resisting any known pathogen, lifespans measured in centuries rather than decades, and cognitive abilities that bordered on prescience. They would be everything humanity had ever dreamed of becoming. But they wouldn't be human. A soft knock on his door interrupted his brooding. "Come in." Elena entered, carrying 2 cups of the synthetic coffee that passed for morning ritual in Settlement Alpha 7. She looked as exhausted as he felt, dark circles shadowing her eyes and her usually precise movements dulled by fatigue. "Couldn't sleep either?" she asked, settling into the chair across from his cot. Marcus accepted the coffee gratefully, letting its bitter warmth chase away some of the chill that had settled in his bones. "Hard to sleep when you're deciding the future of the species. The vote's going to be close. Dr. Kim and her team are completely convinced by the genetic data. Jenny's faction still thinks it's too risky, that we're trading our humanity for alien promises." Elena took a sip of coffee and grimaced. "I hate that stuff, but it's the closest thing we have to normal anymore." "What do you think?" Elena was quiet for a long moment, staring into her cup as if it held answers to questions they were afraid to ask. "I think we're already dead," she said finally. 18 months from now, maybe less, the hegemony arrives and turns this planet into glass. Our choices are die as humans or live as something else. That's pretty much what she said. Smart woman. For an alien. Elena smiled wryly. "Marcus, can I ask you something personal? After 3 years living in each other's pockets?" "Ask away." "Are you attracted to her?" Marcus nearly choked on his coffee. "Elena. I'm serious. This isn't just about genetic compatibility and species survival. If you accept her proposal, you'll be spending the rest of your life, a much longer life, in a relationship with her. Physical attraction matters." Marcus thought about Zarathus's starlight eyes and the way she moved like controlled lightning. About the scent of ozone and flowers that seemed to cling to her presence. About the moment when her alien features had seemed almost human and he'd felt something stirring that had nothing to do with duty or survival.
I don't know, he admitted. She's not human. Everything about her is alien. But,
when she looks at me, I feel like she sees something worth saving.
Not just my genetics or my immunity to the plague. Something more.
He set down his coffee cup and met Elena's gaze.
Does that make me a traitor to humanity?
It makes you human, Elena replied gently.
Which is what she's counting on, I think. Before Marcus could respond, the settlement's emergency alarm began blaring. Both of them bolted upright, training overriding exhaustion in an instant.
The alarm meant only one thing: incoming ships. They raced to the command center, where Jenny Walsh was already coordinating defensive positions. The main display showed the tactical situation in stark detail: 5 massive vessels dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system.
Hegemony?
Marcus asked, his heart hammering against his ribs. Unknown configuration, Jenny replied, her fingers flying over sensor controls.
But they're big. And they're accelerating toward us fast.
Dr. Kim burst into the command center, her face pale with terror.
Marcus, I've been monitoring Veltar communications. Zarathes just received an emergency transmission from her fleet. What kind of emergency?
Before Dr. Kim could answer, Zarathes's voice crackled through their communications array, tense with urgency.
Settlement Alpha 7, this is Zarathes. You are in immediate danger. A Hegemony advance force has detected my presence here and is moving to investigate.
They arrive in 4 hours. Marcus felt the floor drop out from under him.
4 hours?
You said 18 months.
That was for the main fleet. This is a scout force, early and unexpected.
Her voice carried what might have been regret.
I am sorry, Marcus-chan. My presence here has accelerated their timeline.
Jenny stepped forward, her military training taking over.
How many ships? What are we facing?
5 heavy cruisers, fully armed and carrying bioweapons sufficient to sterilize this planet 3 times over.
My single vessel cannot stand against them.
Then, we run, Elena said desperately.
Load everyone onto your ship and get out of here. Impossible. My vessel carries only basic life support.
It cannot sustain 48 humans for the journey to Veltar space. Zarathes paused, and, when she spoke again, her voice was heavy with implications.
However, my people have been monitoring this situation.
If Marcus Chin accepts my proposal immediately, the Veltar fleet will emerge from hyperspace to defend this world. Silence filled the command center like a physical weight. Marcus stared at the tactical display, watching death approach at a significant fraction of light speed while an alien woman offered salvation in exchange for his humanity.
You're asking me to decide right now, he said. No time to think. No time to debate.
Just accept or watch everyone die.
I am asking you to trust me, Zarathes replied.
The way I am trusting you with my life, my clan, and my species' future.
Dr. Kim stepped forward.
Marcus, the genetic compatibility studies are conclusive. This could work.
This could save everyone. And if it doesn't? If her fleet can't stop the hegemony?
Jenny Walsh turned from her weapons console, her scarred face grim but determined.
Then, we die fighting beside aliens instead of hiding like rats. I've seen worse odds.
Marcus looked around the command center at 47 women who had already lost everything once and were about to lose it again. Scientists who had dedicated their lives to pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. Engineers who had performed miracles with spare parts and determination. Farmers who had coaxed food from alien soil. Soldiers who had held the line against impossible odds. They deserved better than extinction.
If I accept, he said slowly, what happens to them? He gestured to include everyone in the settlement.
They come with us to Veltar space.
All of them.
They become part of our confederation, granted full citizenship and access to our technology.
They help build a new kind of civilization, one that blends the best of human ingenuity with Veltar capabilities. And if I refuse?
Then, I honor my promise to leave you to face your fate with dignity. And 48 humans die with honor intact but future extinct.
The tactical display chimed as the hegemony ships crossed another navigation marker. 3 hours and 57 minutes until arrival.
Marcus closed his eyes and thought about his parents, killed in the first wave of the plague. About his sister, who had died trying to evacuate civilians from New Shanghai. About every human friend he'd ever had, every lover he'd ever known, every dream his species had ever held about spreading among the stars. All of it gone except for what stood in this room. When he opened his eyes, 47 faces were watching him with expressions that ranged from terror to hope to resignation. People who had already sacrificed everything for the chance that humanity might survive one more day.
Dr. Kim, he said quietly. In your professional opinion, would human Veltar hybrids still be recognizably human in terms of consciousness and values? The neurological compatibility studies suggest yes.
Enhanced capabilities, but fundamentally human thought patterns and emotional responses.
She hesitated. They'd be us, Marcus. Just better versions of us. Jenny, can we trust her tactically? The former Marine considered the question with professional detachment.
She's had multiple opportunities to eliminate us and hasn't taken them. Her ship could have blasted the settlement from orbit, but she chose to land unarmed and negotiate.
That suggests either genuine peaceful intent or a very long-term strategy. Elena?
The engineer spread her hands helplessly. The technology she's shown us is centuries ahead of anything we can build.
If she's lying about helping us fight the hegemony, we're dead anyway.
If she's telling the truth, we might actually have a chance.
Marcus walked to the window and looked out at Zirion's purple sky.
Storm clouds were gathering again, painting the horizon in shades of violet and crimson. But, for the first time in 3 years, he wondered if the approaching darkness might bring dawn instead of destruction.
Settlement Alpha 7, this is Zarathes. I need your answer now.
My fleet requires time to position themselves for optimal engagement with hegemony forces. Marcus keyed the communications panel with steady fingers.
This is Marcus Chen. I accept your proposal.
The words hung in the air like a bridge burning behind them.
No going back now. No return to pure humanity.
Only forward into an uncertain future that might contain salvation or might be just another form of extinction.
Confirmed, Marcus Chen. Initiating emergency fleet deployment. Relief was audible in Zarathes's voice.
All settlement personnel, prepare for immediate evacuation to my vessel.
We depart for Veltar space in 10 minutes. The next 10 minutes blurred together in frantic activity. Personal belongings crammed into emergency packs. Critical data uploaded to portable drives. Systems shut down and secured. 47 women grabbing whatever they could carry of 3 years of desperate survival.
Marcus found himself standing in his small quarters one last time, looking at the narrow cot where he'd spent so many sleepless nights wondering if he was humanity's salvation or its final failure. On his desk lay a photograph of Earth taken from orbit, blue oceans and white clouds and brown continents that had once held 12 billion human souls. He slipped the photograph into his pack and walked away from the last piece of purely human space in the galaxy. The evacuation to Zarathes's ship proceeded with military precision. Her vessel had extended boarding tubes directly to their main airlock, creating a pressurized corridor between human desperation and alien hope. As they moved through the organic-looking passages of the Veltar ship, Marcus marveled at walls that seemed to pulse with their own life and lighting that adjusted automatically to human visual preferences. "Welcome aboard the Star Weaver," Zarathes said as the last of the settlement's residents entered her ship. "I know this is overwhelming, but you are safe now. My people will ensure your comfort during the journey to our worlds." Through the ship's transparent hull sections, Marcus could see space beginning to distort as the Veltar fleet emerged from hyperspace. Dozens of vessels that defied human understanding of physics and engineering, their organic curves flowing like frozen music against the starfield. Hegemony ships detected at system periphery, an alien voice announced in perfectly accented English. Engaging in 30 seconds. Marcus watched through the ship's sensors as two very different kinds of civilization met in battle. The hegemony cruisers were brutal geometric shapes designed for maximum destructive efficiency. The Veltar fleet moved like living things, their weapons creating cascades of energy that looked more like art than warfare. The battle was brief and decisive. Hegemony shields that had resisted every human weapon ever built crumpled under Veltar fire like paper in a hurricane. In less than 5 minutes, 5 cruisers became expanding clouds of debris and cooling plasma.
"It's over," Dr. Kim whispered.
They actually did it.
Marcus felt Zarathus's hand settle on his shoulder, alien fingers that were surprisingly warm and gentle despite their obvious strength.
"The first victory in what will be a long war," she said quietly. "But a victory nonetheless." As the Star Weaver began its journey toward Veltar space, Marcus stood at an observation window watching Settlement Alpha 7 shrink to a tiny point of light on Zirion 4's surface. Everything they had built. Everything they had been. Reduced to a memory and a hope that something better lay ahead. "Regrets?" Zarathus asked, moving to stand beside him. Marcus thought about it seriously. About the 47 women who now had a chance at futures measured in centuries rather than months. About hybrid children who would carry the best of both species into a galaxy that desperately needed new solutions to ancient problems. About the possibility that humanity's greatest achievements still lay ahead instead of buried in the ashes of dead worlds. "No," he said finally. "No regrets." Zarathus smiled, her starlight eyes reflecting the glow of distant stars. "Then, let us go home, Marcus-chan. There is much work to do." As the Star Weaver jumped to hyperspace, carrying the last free humans toward an alien future that might be salvation or damnation, Marcus realized that for the first time in 3 years, he was looking forward to tomorrow. Behind them, Zirion 4 spun silently in its purple sky, its surface marked only by an abandoned biodome and the fading echoes of humanity's last purely human settlement. Ahead lay the Veltar Confederation, with its impossible technologies and ancient wisdom and 8-foot-tall women who mated for life and fought genocide with weapons made of crystallized starlight. The future would be many things: uncertain, challenging, alien, wonderful, and strange. But it would not be extinction. And, for the first time since the plague ships had come, that was enough.